All right, guys, what's up? This is our next episode of You Are Not Normal with Tony Mont. Thanks for joining the podcast. These have been a lot of fun for me, just kind of getting all my thoughts out, and your questions have been great. So if you guys have questions you want me to answer, definitely comment below, and we will get to all those questions, I promise you. Some of the questions were even, hey, can my questions be X-rated? As long as YouTube allows it, I'll answer it, okay? Because those are fun too. But recently, if you guys follow me on Instagram, you've noticed that I created a freedom lab in my house. So I had a den office in my first floor of my house that I never used. It was just wasted space. And I always walked past it and I was like, what could I do with this room? Should I turn it into a bedroom or what? And I finally decided I'm going to make a freedom lab out of it. I made up freedom lab. It's a made up word, but I didn't want to call it a dungeon because that'll get a lot of weird DMs because you guys have sick minds. So we went freedom lab, and I got a sauna in there. I got a cold plunge. I have my Stairmaster in there. I have a pull-up bar, a dip bar, a punching bag, and I got a bench with just a couple dumbbells. Now, most people look at this room and think this would cost a shit ton of money. The reality is it probably cost less than 10 grand. I would bet everything I have in there was about 9,000 bucks. So it wasn't crazy expensive. So anybody can do it. Just look for good deals. But the reason I did it is because it's a lot easier to get a workout done in the morning for me, but it's hard for me to get to the gym or get to the office and work out, still have time to shower and get to work. So wanted to get everything done at the house, and I don't have to, lift super heavy anymore. I don't got to kill myself at the gym anymore. I'm 40 years old. I don't need all this equipment to get the results I'm looking for. I've been working out for 25 years consistently, and my body doesn't change that much if I use 40-pound dumbbells compared to 100-pound dumbbells. And to be honest, with the elbow pain I have and hip pain I have and stuff like that, it's going to give me a nice little break from heavy workouts so my joints can rest. So why the sauna and the cold plunge? I mean, it seems kind of like a fad going on where everybody's talking about these cold plunges, but I've been taking cold showers since I was like 14 years old. And I know taking a cold shower in the morning makes me feel good. And what could make me feel better? Just submerging my entire body in ice cold water. And it's funny because since I've been doing it about a week now. The first time I did it, it really, really sucked. Like, it was really hard for me. The biggest thing for me, it wasn't the mental toughness. It was literally the physical pain. So I was excited to get into this cold plunge. Like, when we set it up, Giovanni was with me, we were filling it up with a hose, and I was like, man, I can't wait. I was like all smiles. I can't wait to get in this thing tomorrow morning when it's ready. And when I woke up that next morning and got in it, I was excited to get in it. But after about 30 seconds, my joints started feeling like they were going to explode. And it was miserable. So it's taken a while for my body to get used to it. I'm getting a lot more used to it now. I can submerge all the way to my neck, and my breathing is super controlled right away. So I got all that down. I'm still having a lot of pain in my ankles and my feet and stuff like that, where at about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, I'm really in a lot of pain. So it's getting way better though. It went from 30 seconds then to a minute. Now I'm at a minute and a half before it's really bad. So my body's getting used to it. And I got to tell you, it makes me feel great in the morning. It clears my head. It puts me in a really good mood. Like, I usually listen to a podcast in the morning, and lately, since I've been feeling so good after the cold plunge, I've been putting on old music from my childhood and listening to that and just feeling really good and singing along. And it just makes me feel great. So I encourage you guys to do the same. If you can't afford a cold plunge, just take an ice cold shower and you'll get the same results. The punching bag, that's something I did when I was younger, when I was a kid. And I think about the punching bag just like I do riding a dirt bike. Like, I rode the first dirt bike I ever rode, I was probably 10 years old, And to this day, even when I get on my Harley, I feel like I'm 10 years old again. I don't know what it is. There's a few things in my life that once I do them, it brings me back to my childhood, and I'm just as excited. It's the same with the punching bag. When I start hitting that bag, it releases all these endorphins where it just feels so good. I start talking shit to myself, to, you know, anything that's going on in my life while I'm punching the bag. Like I look like a psychopath, and I got my windows open, my blinds open. My neighbors are probably driving by or walking by and being like, what is this guy doing? He's half naked hitting a punching bag and then jumping in an ice cold tub of water. But it's been great having all this stuff in there. Like I said, you don't need a lot to get a good workout. I work out for about a half hour, 40 minutes, and then do the sauna for 20 and hop in the cold plunge for 3 minutes. And it's been great. It's been a game changer for me. Brings my anxiety way down as well with the cold plunge and the working out in the morning. I have no time for anxiety anymore. You know, my brother called me the other day because he knows I've struggled with anxiety, you know, my whole life. And he's like, you know, how's your anxiety been lately? And I was like, in the last year, I have had pretty much zero anxiety. There's been a few things that have changed in the last year, and I've just stayed a lot more busy and a lot more focused on work and working out and staying healthy and not drinking and eating better. I've taken mushrooms consistently, which, you know, when I was younger and I was doing psychedelics, I was doing it for fun. Now I do it for fun, but I also do it for mental health. And I noticed about a year ago, I started doing mushrooms every single weekend, just a little bit, like half a gram to, you know, a gram and a half, you know, throughout the day on a Sunday. And it's been such a good reset for me, because just having a little bit of a break from reality kind of keeps me in check, and it reminds me, hey, there's more things to life than, you know, just grinding at work or just all the little bullshit that comes up through the week. Like if I do that every single Sunday, take a little bit of mushrooms, it literally resets me for Monday, where I come in here Monday morning and I'm not stressed out from the week before. It's a fresh start. So that's been a huge help for me in my anxiety, and so is, you know, making sure I work out every single morning. And, you know, I just want to transition over into, you know, how we're doing here at the office wholesaling. We've started off really strong this month, 123 grand in assignment fees so far. Everybody's doing really good on the teams. We got a sales manager starting on in a couple of days, and, you know, we're really hitting the ground running this year, and it's going to be our best year ever. So everything's been great over here, and I think that is a reflection of, you know, just kind of having my personal life dialed in and being so focused at work. So, you know, not everything is about making money. Life isn't about, you know, grinding every single day at work if you're not happy. So you got to make sure your mind's right, your discipline's right, everything's good at home, everything's good in your mind, so you can perform at work. So money is just a byproduct of all that. Somebody was just talking a little shit to me on social media the other day, saying, you know, the reason you flash a Rolex and you know, flash your cars and stuff is because you're insecure and you can't afford those things anyway. I just kind of laughed at that comment. For you guys that know me and follow me, I don't flash my Rolex all the time. It might be in some videos, but it actually kind of embarrasses me that I have a $50,000 watch on my wrist. But, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, if you have to use a credit card and pay off a Rolex over 6 months or a year or something, you can't afford it. If you have to get a vehicle and you have to budget for a $100,000 truck that you just bought, you can't afford it. The thing is, when you do make money, it's people that are handling your money that are telling you to buy these things because you're going to have to pay taxes. So that's the difference between people who can't afford something and people that can. I wouldn't buy any of this shit if I didn't have to. It's some of these things are a necessity when you start making money. It does make me feel good to have nice things, but it's not the message I'm trying to put out there for everybody, where, like, look at me, these are the nice things I have, I'm better than you. If anything, I've switched my mindset into, hey, it's okay to show some of these things because, you know, maybe that does motivate somebody to do a little bit better in life. And, you know, I want everybody to make a lot of money and be happy, you know. So if I wear a watch, trust me, it doesn't do anything for me. Hopefully it does something for you, but I can afford it. And yeah, I'm not insecure about it very much. You know, I just don't want to be a douchebag. That's the biggest thing. So moving on to just how we're going to move forward on this podcast and who you guys want as guests. So the reason we haven't done a guest yet is because it's probably going to have to be over Zoom. It's probably not going to be a lot in person. So I'm kind of hesitant on having guests, but I want your guys' feedback. If you want me to have a guest on, just comment below who do you think would be a great guest, and we'll see if we can get them on. Hopefully we get people in person. One goal I do have is whenever I do have friends or anybody, family coming to visit me, we're definitely going to have them on the podcast because everybody I'm friends with, everybody I hang out with is not normal. I can definitely tell you that. So we'll have my brother come on when he comes out and visits, and I got a lot of crazy friends with crazy stories, so that'll be fun. But anybody you guys want to see, comment below, and we'll see if we can get them on. I got a future mentorship coming up. I'm going to start doing a discipline, mindset, fitness, accountability, one-on-one coaching. So hopefully you guys will respond well to that. It's something new that I'm doing. It's a 10-week program where we hop on a phone call every 2 weeks. We have an app that you guys can download and then just keep you guys on track on, you know, fitness, wellness, mindset, just staying healthy mentally and physically, and then seeing, you know, how you're doing when we start and how you're doing when we finish. And hopefully I can give a lot of value that way. I think I can. I'm somebody that, like I said, I've been working out really hard for 25 years. I've been in therapy for, 25 years, and I surround myself with positivity and trying to grow and better myself every single day. So I'd love to pass that information down to you guys. So having said all that, we're going to get into some rapid fire questions. Mr. Giovanni, who you can't see, is sitting right next to you behind this camera, and he's going to rifle off some questions. I don't know the questions, but I'll just go off the top of my head.
What's up, guys? We're going to jump into some questions here. One thing that I wanted to add about that mentorship, the one-on-one mentorship, this really comes, and it's actually posted on your story today, just because people are asking for it. They want some kind of accountability. They want to get to the level that you're at. And there isn't traditional ways of doing it. You know, like people my age had to go to college and they fucking hated that experience. And you realize that there's entrepreneurs out here who didn't do any of those things and are extremely successful. So I just wanted to reiterate that the reason that you're also making this program is largely in part because of the need for it, the demand for it, the want for it. So if there's anything that people want to see in that mentorship as well, we are absolutely happy to take that feedback in and incorporate it wherever it makes sense.
That's a good point. Like this, social media and the internet in general has become everybody's college. You don't have to go to college. I never went to college. I barely went to high school. I think I missed, 70% of my Mondays, my whole high school career, because I just decided I don't want to go to school on Monday. I hated it, and I didn't need college, obviously. So we all try to find knowledge and inspiration and motivation through social media and through the internet and finding it on our own. And I'd love to be conduit for that for you guys.
Beautiful. All right, we're going to jump into the rapid fire. So the first one, who are you going to be voting for in the 2024 election?
Who am I going to be voting for in the 2024 election? People are going to get so upset with this answer. I'm not voting in the 2024 election. I used to be really into politics back in the day. When I was younger, like right out of high school, probably my, most of my 20s, I was really into it. I was researching a ton. I was voting. I was watching all the news programs, reading as much as I could about it. And I realized after years of being interested in it, it didn't matter. Nothing changed, no matter who was in office or who wasn't. It put me in a bad mood when people I wanted in office didn't get voted in. And it made me realize that I can't control any of that. And all I can control is myself, my friends, my family, and that's more what I'm focused on right now. If you're really worried about who's going to be the next president, I get it. It should be a concern, but I'm way more concerned about what can I get done today to be a better person and make more money and make those around me better people and more money. So that's what I'm focused on. I don't really give a shit about politics at all anymore. I'm pretty apolitical. I always say I'm a 90s hippie, liberal, which means I don't really care what anybody does. I just don't want the government telling me what to do. And now those same views makes you a devout Trump supporting Republican conservative. So the world has changed, not TONYMONT.
When it comes to Investorlift listings, on the dispo side of it all, is rent roll something that you should have on your Investorlift listings?
Yeah, so switching over to wholesaling, when you're assigning deals, when you're trying to find an investor that wants your deal that's coming tenant occupied, that's one of the first things you need from the seller. Definitely get the lease and get a rent roll. Rent roll meaning you need a history of what that renter has paid, over the last 6 months to a year. Are they paying on time? Are they paying market rent? Your buyer is going to want proof of all that. That's going to make them feel good about buying the property or bad about buying the property if the person misses months or is late all the time or isn't paying market rent. And they're going to want to see the lease because that's the lease they're taking over. So definitely good to put that stuff in your listing if you're using Investorlift or not. If you guys want Investorlift though, definitely get it. You can use promo code Tony Montalbano. Right?
Yep.
And get 10% off. Every single month people use my promo code. I just saw one yesterday. Somebody got lieutenant level, used the promo code, got 10% off, which saves you a ton of money. Greatest dispo platform on the planet.
Beautiful. Staying inside of the dispo realm, somebody had asked a pretty broad question. Is there any crazy dispo story that you think we should know about?
Crazy dispo story. I can only think right off the rip of just crazy houses that we've dispoed. There was one in Ohio. Have I talked about the poop house yet on this podcast?
No, you haven't.
There was one property in Ohio that we got under contract and we were marketing out to our buyers. And right when we got the photos back, me and Eric kind of looked at each other and we're like, can we even send this out? There was dirty human adult diapers stacked all the way to the ceiling in every single room. So this lady was wearing adult diapers and she would mess them and then she would hoard them. So the entire house was full of dirty diapers and every single photo had dirty diapers in them. And I had to create a listing for this property and send it to investors. But it was actually such a good deal. We sold it and made like 40 grand on it. And everybody who walked it would then call me and say, this place is absolutely disgusting. And I would say, well, no shit. There's human feces stacked to the ceiling. I didn't think it was going to smell good in there. But it was a really cool house. On a really cool piece of land in a cool spot in Ohio, and it sold. So that's the one story I always think of when people ask me, for sure. It was a crazy deal.
I don't know if there's a lesson in there, but I appreciate the story.
Well, the lesson is, we get these properties sent over to us in dispo, and we predetermine what our buyers are going to say about it or what they're going to offer on it. But unless you're like just in your backyard and your market inside and out, and you've been there for years and every street and what these properties sell for and what buyers are paying for them, maybe what your buyers are going to say. But this was a part of Ohio we didn't know, the numbers definitely made sense, and it was a cool, unique property. So when we did send it out, a lot of people who contacted me said, I've been trying to buy this house for 10 years. So I'm so glad you got it under contract, and I definitely want it. So the lesson there is, don't predetermine what your buyers are going to say or pay for a property. If the numbers make sense, somebody out there is going to see what you did when you locked it up, and talk about that property honestly, and make sure your numbers are right. So when you're talking to a buyer about it, they can make money on it, and you're confident they're going to make money on it.
This question actually came in earlier today via a DM, I think. Do you actually use the documents and templates and scripts that you sell?
Of course, I created them. I mean, my whole team uses them. I use them. Yeah, I mean, I told you guys the other day when I did that reduction call that I had the script. I said I had it in my hand. That was an absolute lie. I lied to you guys, and I didn't realize I lied to you until after I listened to the podcast. I actually had it up on my computer screen, so it wasn't actually in my hand. It was in my digital hand on my computer screen. But I read that thing verbatim. Yeah, so I just created another script yesterday that I finished for my dispo assistant, or as she likes to call herself, our MLS coordinator. And she's starting to pre-market our deals right when we get them under contract. That day one we get the contract, she starts sending them out. And I created a script for her for that scenario. And before she got on the phones, I made probably 5 calls and just read the script verbatim. It worked out great. And then she read it the rest of the day, and it worked out beautiful. Obviously, we tweaked a couple things once we got a couple conversations going, so I'll correct that and get it back to her. And yeah, absolutely, we use everything I send you guys. I would never send out something that I didn't believe in. I would never ask you guys for $97 for a script, which is insanely cheap, if I didn't use it myself. I don't care if you guys gave me a penny for a script. I wouldn't give it to you if I didn't believe in it.
You had mentioned pre-marketing. I kind of want to dive into that because I think that's become a big thing in the business model for wholesaling. How did that come about for you, and what do you mean when you say pre-marketing?
It's something I've been preaching for a long time, because I would pre-market properties when I was alone on the dispo side. So there was times where when me, Eric, and Shiloh were growing this business, and it was maybe just me and Eric on the phones, and Shiloh was doing all the transactions, where, I would have maybe, 5 to 7 deals I was working, and, maybe 3 or 4 of those were getting assigned, and I was just working a few of them, and there was 5 deals locked up under contract that we didn't have photos for. So I was like, all right, I got time. I'm going to start marketing these deals even though I don't have photos. And I would assign some of them before we even got photos. A lot of times too, I would find a buyer that was like, hey, let me go out there and walk it. I'll take the pictures for you, so you don't got to pay for that, but give me first dibs on it. If I don't want it, I'll send you the pictures. So we made handshake deals like that, and it got them moved a lot faster. So I've been preaching to the team, for years to do this, and some people do it, some people don't. I've never had a real process for it, so it's 100% my fault that we haven't done more of this, because there was no process. But lately, the team has been pre-marketing deals, and we've sold 4 deals before we got photos in the last just couple of months. And we've made, a couple $100,000 on those deals. So it works really well. It creates urgency with your buyers. What better than to pitch a VIP buyer that, hey, I don't even have photos for this property. I'm not getting photos for 3 days. You can be the first ones to get out there, walk it, and put your offers in, or do sight unseen, whatever it might be. So it does create a lot of urgency with our VIPs. It's just one more step ahead where you're treating your VIPs as VIPs, and you're giving them the opportunity before it does come over into our dispo bucket, and we have photos and we start marketing it. So it's worked really well. Me and our dispo assistant did 1 deal yesterday, got 4 walkthroughs for today before we even have photos, so our inspection period hasn't even started on it. We're probably going to sell that deal and make 25 grand on it before we even started our inspection period. So it's a great strategy, and we're gonna continue testing it. And I'll have another script for you guys to buy for $97. And there's gonna be some people on Instagram that are gonna talk shit about me for selling another $97 script, but we'll deal with that as it comes.
This segues really nicely into another question that somebody had, and it's about the MLS. You had mentioned how there's newer investors now, and they're really the ones that are on the MLS, getting their first properties, getting their feet wet when it comes to real estate. So how has the MLS been a game changer for your business model?
Yeah, we sell 70% of our wholesale deals on the MLS. Like, these are not novations. These are strictly wholesale deals. We're assigning a contract to a cash buyer on the MLS. And every single one of those 70% has gone through the VIPs, the qualified, gotten cold called, texted out, put on Investorlift. It just so happens none of the offers made sense for us, or they were too low. We list them on the MLS, and those are obviously the best and highest offers, or else it would have gone, back to a VIP or something. If you ask any investor you've ever met, anybody that's ever invested in real estate, where did you find your first deal? 99% of them are going to say on the MLS, and they're all going to say I overpaid for it. Because as a new investor, you're not as savvy. You don't have access to off-market deals. You have to use an agent. You have to use the MLS because you have no other way of doing it. So you're used to properties at a higher price. You're used to using an agent. That agent's trying to get paid. They're doing everything they can to get the deal done, even if it's not a good deal for you to invest in most of the time if you don't have a good relationship with them. So you'll notice that your new investors, which make up the majority of our buyers, when buyers are buying investment properties, the majority of investment properties are sold to brand new investors on their first deal, and those always sell for more money. They're not as savvy, they don't have enough deals, and they're always buying something on the MLS. So if you guys haven't been dispoing your deals on the MLS, you're doing it wrong.
This one was actually a good question that came through. How did you end up in disposition? And I think that's something that would help frame this, is because a lot of people don't really know exactly what the hell it is that you actually do. So explain a little bit of wholesaling, and then how does disposition fit into all of that?
Yeah, so the way I ended in the dispo role was I didn't have a plan. Me and Eric didn't have a plan. Shyla didn't have a plan. But all we had was an idea of wholesaling. We knew somebody that was doing it. They were making good money doing it. And Eric was kind enough to bring this idea to me. He knew I wanted to get out of the bike business, and I was ready to move on and diversify a little bit. And he believed in me that I was good at sales and good with people. So came out to Raleigh. We opened this office, and right away I was in acquisitions. So wholesaling is, getting a seller on the phone and getting them under contract with a purchase agreement, and then basically assigning that contract to an investor, and then that investor, closes on the property and you get paid. So say you lock up a property with a homeowner for $100,000 and it's worth $200,000 all fixed up. You can then sell that contract or assign that contract to a buyer that's going to buy it cash for $125,000. They close on it in a couple weeks. The seller gets $100,000, you get $25,000. The buyer puts, $20,000 into it, and then they can sell it on the market for $200,000 and make their money that way. So it's kind of a pipeline. You're the middleman in between sellers that need cash for their homes, they're distressed, and buyers that are looking for opportunities. So when I got to the office, I was in acquisitions. I was trying to get these contracts. First call I ever made in wholesaling, locked up the deal. It was like a $9,000 deal. And then, it was a few weeks later where I was like, well, Mr. Eric Klein is on the phones locking up enough deals, and we were paying another company to get rid of our deals. And that was costing us a lot of money. So I think it was Shyla who first said it. She's like, Tony, you'd be great at dispositions. Like you can create really good relationships with people. Why don't you start, dispositions and trying to sell these properties? And it just all made sense. And that's how I got started. The first deal I ever dispoed myself, it was another Ohio property. We were heavy in Ohio back then. It was in Cincinnati. and it was an 1890s farmhouse on a hill overlooking a river. The house wasn't worth anything really. The land was really cool. It was on a big lot, and it was such a unique property. There was no comps. I remember when Eric locked it up, I was helping him look at it. We didn't even know if it was a deal, and we got it under contract anyway. I started marketing it. Back then, I didn't have a buyer's list. I put it on a Facebook group. A buyer reached out to me. He ended up buying and closing on it in like 30 days. And we made 40 grand on that deal. So the first deal I ever dispoed, $40,000 assignment fee. So, it was just natural for me to go into that role. Eric already had acquisitions. He had a ton of experience on the phones. He was best in that role. And I just kind of, got in where I fit in, and it worked out great because I love dispositions. I love talking to investors, creating relationships with buyers, and I love like the whole marketing aspect of it and figuring out, what is the strategy on this property and why is it such a good deal for somebody, and then the sales part of convincing that buyer, why it's a good deal, and the negotiations and the problem solving, all that kind of stuff is right up my alley.
If you weren't in dispositions, let's say all this tomorrow was gone, what would TONYMONT be doing if it wasn't dispositions?
In the wholesale space or just in life?
In life.
In life. So I probably would have ended up selling the bike shop anyway. The plan was to take a year off and just RV around the country. So I would have been about a year. This would have been a year after the RV trip if we're going on a true timeline. So I would have been doing something totally different. Probably what I would have been doing is some type of assembly line building, some type of unique specialty vehicle. Me and my old business partner dabbled into the 4x4 kind of overland van business for a little bit. We flipped a couple of those. We have a really good friend of ours that has a shop down in Mexico where you can get stuff done for really cheap. So we were buying these vans, that were 2009 or newer Ford vans, the extended ones, and basically kind of stripping out the interior and bringing them down to Mexico, putting four-wheel drive on them with a 6-inch lift, 35-inch tires, and then selling them for somebody to, turn the inside into an RV. But that was a really cool, fun business, something I was into. I probably would have done something like that. But who knows? Who knows where anybody ends up? But that was something I was into.
So I didn't even know that about you. Mm-hmm. You got excited talking about it.
Yeah.
Last question. Do you have any Valentine's Day plans? Today is the 9th. We got 5 days till Valentine's Day.
5 days till Valentine's Day. I did have a couple, I had somebody hit me up on Instagram that I know, and she just texted me randomly out of the blue and said, "You're buying me flowers for Valentine's Day." And I just said, "What's your address?" And so I'm definitely sending one person flowers just because they asked for them. But I'm a single guy. I don't know. Valentine's Day is just another day. Like when I'm in a relationship, I buy flowers all the time. Just cause. Like I believe in getting gifts for somebody when you feel like getting gifts for them. Like when you have that feeling, somebody pops up in your head and you're like, I want this person to feel good today. Buy them some flowers. I buy Shyla flowers all the time. I always buy Eric, t-shirts or hats or whatever. I love giving gifts, and it's not like it's on my schedule to give somebody a gift. I don't really know anybody's birthdays. I don't know holidays, none of that. But when somebody, when I want to make somebody feel good, I buy them something. So for you ladies out there, if you were dating me, you'd be getting random flowers, and I would forget Valentine's Day. So it's just something you're going to have to deal with.
That's the give and take they're going to have to deal with.
Yeah.
All right, cool. That is everything for today for Rapid Fire. You want to wrap this episode up, Tom?
Yeah. Thanks for joining us again. You Are Not Normal podcast, and definitely make some comments below. Let me know what I'm doing good, and let me know what Gio's doing bad. and we'll fix those things and just do all my ideas moving forward. But thank you guys so much for joining me. I'll see you at the top.